Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Women Inspiration with me, Lakshmi Rajaram. Today, I have another extremely inspirational woman joining our program today. She did her BA in psychology in India, followed by MA in human sciences, and she went on to come to the US and did her PhD in family health and social sciences. She has been working in various different positions in the Twin Cities, but most recently, since 2014, she has been heavily involved in volunteering for ASHA USA in matters of health, family, and social welfare. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to invite Sayali Amrapurkar into this program today. So please join me in welcoming Sayali. Hello, Sayali, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Hi, Lakshmi.
Hello, welcome to the program, Sayali. How are you doing today?
Good, good. It's a really nice day.
Yes, and both of us have this gorgeous view, and we're sitting in this beautiful sunroom. I just need a cup of coffee, I think, and then we can get started.
Yeah.
Sally, it's a pleasure. It's my honor and a pleasure to have you on this show. As I was telling in your introduction, I was telling people that you have such a established educational qualifications, your BA, your MA, your PhD, and then your extensive research as well as voluntary work in family health and social sciences. So there's so much that I want to chat with you about. But let me start by asking you, BA psychology. Before that, one thing I didn't mention to our audiences is Sayali comes from a very rich, cultural background. Her father, Sadashiv Amrapurkar, is a very well-established Bollywood actor from the 70s and the 80s. And so she grew up in this family exposed to the Bollywood culture. And so my first question, Sayali, I'm sure many people have asked you this, is how did you not get tempted to join into the Bollywood career, or at least, in some aspects of that, but you then chose to do psychology and then move on to do various other things in that related field. So tell us a little bit about that.
First of all, Lakshmi, thank you very much for inviting me today. And, it's really fun. These are the times when we are getting to know new people, making new friends. So thank you for that. And first of all, I come from a very simple, small town Maharashtra joint family. So many people will be very surprised to hear that. So my dad, of course, was a very talented, legendary actor, and when he was a theater person, basically, when in 80s he came to Bombay and accidentally he got into films. He never had that in his mind, and so along with him, we came from a small town joint family to Bombay, and so it was literally like a very giant leap. But our parents, both my mom and dad, they made sure that our family life stayed simple, tried to imbibe middle class values in me and both my sisters. We are three sisters, and we kept those connections with, our roots. So basically that's where I come from. And but my dad was an actor outside the house, but in the house he was like an ardent reader. He was MA history sociology, and he had this social perspective, so he did a lot of social work. He was an impact maker, especially people from Maharashtra know him as that. And so my mom is a writer, and basically, as you said, we had a very rich cultural environment, and they made sure that that Bollywood environment didn't make an impact in terms of especially the shosha, the parties, and other things.
Right.
And just to correct you, it was 80s and 90s, so
okay.
not 70s and 80s.
Sure.
So 80s is when his first film Ardha Satya came. So anyway, so I grew up in Bombay and went to school, and our parents, since we were three girls, they said, you can do whatever you want. They never said that this is what you should be doing. So we all chose whatever we were passionate about. And though growing up, in school and college, I did some acting, writing, directing, but it was not my forte, or I didn't think of it as a career. And I was into academics and a lot of other extracurricular activities. So, and I chose to do arts because I loved languages, social sciences, psychology, economics, English literature. Those were my favorites. So I chose to get into arts stream. And that's basically it is. And so I loved psychology. And I remember I was like immediately after 12th grade exam. So we all know who grew up in India that 10th and 12th grade is like big deal, and it was back
lot
then.
of pressure, lot of stress.
Oh, yeah. And not only the people around you, but it was more students themselves, right? We all were like, everybody was in that same boat. So I remember studying really hard for my 12th exams and everything. And then just when the exams were over and all the extracurricular activities were also over, and we got out for summer break, and the 2-3 weeks after that, I still remember, I went through a hard time because I think I had put too much on my plate, and suddenly everything had stopped, and I caught myself feeling these like very like hopeless, difficulty sleeping, eating, sort of a very different scenario. Didn't want to socialize or do activities that I really enjoyed doing.
You kind of went into a shell.
Sort of, yeah. And I was just 18, like, at 12th grade. So that was the time when, of course, we went to the doctor, and the doctor said, maybe, she's just, once the college starts, she'll be fine, kind of a thing. And of course, the summer went by and college started, and I was fine after that. But, that really got me interested into psychology, because one of the things we were studying in psychology was about mind and emotions and, thoughts and all that. So that's how my interest in psychology went further. Rather than just the academic aspect, I think it gave me a personal interest in it, that what is it that happened or is happening.
You were seeking an explanation for how you were feeling, and that's such a powerful story, Sally, because you wanted to learn more about what you were experiencing, and in choosing that path in academics, probably you found more answers, more solutions. And then fast forward, you went on to do your PhD and do a lot of research work here. And then you started volunteering with organizations, Asha USA, in the space of family health, social sciences. So help me understand, what is the, here you talk a lot about mental health, you talk about all these topics. I mean, especially in our South Asian community here, what are you seeing as far as exposure to this? Are there reservations? Are there barriers that you encounter? Is it only, targeting a certain age group or a certain demographic? Like, help us understand what is the situation here, especially in the South Asian community.
Yeah. So just so that, I went on to do BA in Psych and Masters in Human Development with a counseling component. So in India, I was doing counseling, and I preferred to work with kids and teenagers because, as I said, it was close to my heart that this is the time when they're really going through things, and, if they have a problem, we need to work on that. And that's how my interest became even more deeper. And so here, when I had a chance to do PhD, I chose family social science. That's the part of marriage and family therapy. And that's where actually you're talking about relationship health and mental health and how all that comes together. Anyway, so in our community, so I've been here for 20 years now in Minnesota, and we are all, South Asians, or let's say specifically Asian Indians. We come from back home. So as immigrants, as an immigrant community, we have our own issues where we leave behind our family, come here, we are trying to raise kids, we are trying to work. We don't have that social support system. So that's one stress of just being an immigrant. And add to that, a lot of stigma associated with mental illnesses, or in general, seeking help about mental health and things like that. So we read about it, but firsthand, I have talked to people who have issues and they want to get help, but they find it very hard because, first of all, they are not talking about it to anybody. There's a taboo in our community, face saving, lot of face saving, that, oh no, I don't want to talk about this. What will people say, right? So that's the first barrier where we don't want to talk about it. Secondly, even if somebody feels that, oh, something is amiss and I need to get help, say for themselves or somebody they know, they don't know where to go to. So of course you go to either a psychiatrist or a mental health professional and things like that. But it takes a lot of courage in our community to do that. And especially when it comes to kids, parents might not be aware and they might just, shove things under the carpet, saying,
that's what I feel. Half the
don't
time
worry
people are just dismissing it, like they're not even acknowledging that this could be an issue, right? Many times they just dismiss it, saying this will get okay, you're just going through a phase, or distract yourself with something else and it'll be okay. Is half the time it's the lack of awareness, right?
Yes, yeah. Half the time it's lack of awareness. Half the time it is, you have some old ideas in terms of why my child or why a person is going through this. And, instead of thinking scientifically or really getting to understand what the issue is, people might just fall back on those ideas. And thirdly, there are misconceptions about the treatment as well.
Yeah.
Like, there are medicines, of course, and people worry about, side effects, is it a lifelong thing and all that. But there is counseling, there is therapy where, people can get just talking about their issues and getting help through change in behavior, thinking, and emotions. There's a lot that can be done, especially in US. You are in US where there are all these resources, right?
Right.
So that's the main goal. So as a part of Asha USA, again, Asha USA is a non-profit organization. We have other programs, and one major initiative is Mental Health Matters. And the goal is to create awareness among our community. So as a part of that, we have tried to do different things. Like we have held panel discussions where we have a team of experts, some high school kids and parents, and talk about issues, what is going on. And, so we get those were some of the popular ones where we got a lot of questions from parents as well as high school students. Then we have tried to do little film festivals where we show short films on different mental issues, and then the community talks about it. That's been really successful and people have responded. Women especially. And then we also invite speakers who talk about different issues, and people can ask questions.
So sounds like education is a big part of that increased awareness, and letting people know, or helping them overcome those self-imposed misconceptions, and trying to seek out answers for those, and understanding that it's not what you think or what you believe. There are resources, there are tools, there are these available, which is great, because it brings me to this current time that we are facing, Sayali. I'm sure in your line of work, you might have seen an uptick in incidents or in counseling resources and things like that, because the last 2 months have been anything but normal for a lot of us, and different people have been affected in different capacities, right? Some more severe than the others. So one thing that I know personally, a lot of my friends have that I have reached out to have told me is it's becoming increasingly difficult to balance work and life and children and housework and conference calls and keeping up with everything, and then distance learning for the children is the parent has to become half a teacher at home too. So this is a time when they need to be told that it's okay, you're not expected to be superhuman or superwoman or whatever it is, that it's okay. But using that just as an example, Sally, are there any resources or any kind of information that you can share for people who might be struggling, particularly during this last COVID time frame?
Yeah. So, first thing I want to say is that we all are grieving. We all as a humanity are grieving right now. Everybody is going through this. It's a unifying experience. And grieving in terms of a lot of things, it's a big loss, right? It's not just people dying because of the virus. It's also loss of our routine, loss of the way we knew life to be. So there is going to be a pre-COVID life and post-COVID life.
Correct.
And right now we are in it. So the first few weeks or even a couple of months was like vacation, and everybody was in the survival mode, like, what can we do the best? But now we know this is a long-term thing, and so how are we going to take care of ourselves given this new reality? And so of course there's financial losses, academic losses in terms of life experiences or milestones that people were looking forward to.
I know so many children miss their graduation and important ceremonies, right?
And parents, of course, as you mentioned, there's a lot of stress on parents. So one of the things we've been doing is we've been doing some webinars. We did one on emotional resilience, and there's one coming up which will be on May 16th on parenting strengths and how especially parents with young kids can deal with it. But other than that, I would just like to say that, just take care of your mental and emotional health, in the sense that if you think something is amiss, if you feel overwhelmed, if you are not sleeping well or sleeping too much, not eating well or eating too much, and all those things, if you find it's really difficult to get up in the morning, these are all just some signs that you are really getting affected in terms of your mental health. So seek help. There's so much out there. There are a lot of organizations who are putting out stuff, but you can also get information which is culturally relevant to South Asian families or community on our website, and I'll just mention it's ashausa.org/resources, and we've put together a list of mental health practitioners who are of Indian origin in Twin Cities, or
Great.
we have links.
So we don't need to educate them on our cultural background. They already come prepared with
because
that.
That's another barrier. When it comes to mental health, people say if we go to an American counselor, we spend half the time just explaining our culture. So we thought it will be useful if we have some mental health practitioners who are of our culture, so people can feel comfortable maybe, or feel that they are understood. And so just make sure you seek help, and of course they can reach out to me, or as I said, through our website, try to connect. But guys, please take care of your health, whether it's young kids, teenagers, women, men, or seniors in our community. Everybody needs help right now. So
thank you so much, Sayali. That was a lot of information, and great information, and basically reassuring people that, these are not normal times, and everyone is going through this in their own way, trying to find some semblance of normalcy in their own routine, because so much has been taken away from us at this time. So let that not derail you completely. Pay attention to the signs that your body is telling you, and definitely seek help. Make use of those resources that you mentioned. Again, ashausa.org is your website, and I'm sure there's Facebook groups that they could be
yes,
a part of.
and I would like to mention we through Asha USA, I have 3 Facebook pages. One is called Mental Health Matters. I think if you subscribe to that, or if you like that page, I always keep on updating resources relevant to our community when it comes to mental health.
Okay.
So that would be a good resource. And then there's a Facebook group called South Asian Moms Everywhere. So all South Asian moms, feel free to subscribe to that. And again, I put parenting resources on there, and anybody is free to join.
Wonderful. So guys, you heard it from the experts that there are tons of resources out there. There are people willing to help out. There are counselors waiting to talk to you and kind of give you that emotional support that you may be needing at this time. So please don't hesitate. If you or a loved one or somebody maybe a friend who is struggling through these times, please help them by reaching out to Sayali and all these resources, maybe subscribing to one of the pages that she mentioned. There's a lot of help out there, and we can all overcome this time together. So Sayali, thank you so much for taking time out and talking to us today. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the program, and I wish you all the very best with your work and volunteering efforts that you are doing with Asha USA. And I hope I get to talk to you and meet you very soon again, Sayali.
Yes, thank you so much, Lakshmi. Thank you very much.
Bye.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.